Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Dmitriy. I'm a Magento developer, and I've been working with Magento for over 10 years already. Started with Magento 1 and continuing with Magento 2 still. Yeah, and during this period of time, I had a lot of struggle with the local setups. It was really painfully to set up new projects, especially when I worked in a support team. I had to install like 10, 15, 20 projects on my laptop with different PHP versions, different Magento versions, and it always was a struggle. And today I want to share with you the story, my developer life story about the local setup, how I overcome those problems, and little bit the history about the local setup and what we've been using before. So it was lamp, like Nginx Apache, just a regular default setup you can have on Linux. And it works fine, but it's a bit hard to maintain 10, 15, 20 projects at the same time with such a setup. So there was also a map you could install on a MacBook, XAMPP for Windows, but generally the problems were the same. One project, maybe yes, but as soon as you get more than a couple of projects to install, it becomes a problem. And especially it becomes a problem and very, very time consuming for junior developers because it's always hard to do something for the first time, and different projects, different requirements, and once you did it, then basically nobody can replicate it easily. You just need to tell everyone this project needs that, and there is always some documentation behind each project, like separate Confluence page about the setup guide. Then Vagrant appeared, and it kind of made it easier in a way that you can provision a virtual machine with the necessary PHP versions and maybe some other requirements that this project has. You also can pack it in a box, share it with somebody, and this person can import it. And it kind of worked, but such a box would weight, we had projects like 40 gigabytes, and exchanging those boxes between the developers, it would, how can I go back? Okay, sorry, wrong button. Yeah, so you just don't have space on your laptop for such amount of data to be installed. And we started to use external SSD disks. You just buy an external SSD, you install it, and then you can work in that way. So we kind of had this approach here to have a Vagrant box, which you can share with your colleagues. And you install it, and you have just a project installed out of the box, and it worked nice. But the other problem was the file share. Very slow. Magento, we know it's a huge platform, a lot of files, and so it worked very, very slow when it comes to the file sharing. And after Vagrant, Docker appeared. It kind of changed the way you can work with projects locally. So let's say if whenever you're starting with Magento and in general with local setups, you had to install quite a few things on it, and apparently also breaking the whole Linux you have. And I remember I was reinstalling my Linux Ubuntu many times to get it fixed. Then the Docker appeared, and so now you can just define all your dependencies, all the stuff you need in a single Docker Compose file. Just hit Docker Compose up, and that's it. You will have your project up and running. This is how it looks like. You just have your containers up. There's an entry point for it through the Nginx, and yeah. But there was a, let's say, by time going, we noticed that some solutions started to appear for Magento local setup and Docker specifically, powered by Docker. So specifically I found the good ones was the Docker Magento by Modest Coders, Docker Magento by Academy, and today I also found about the Warden. Maybe there's something else, but the idea behind all those solutions is just to put together a Docker Compose file for you, so you can just spin up this environment you have. Sorry. Yeah. So, but why those solutions started to appear? Like, you can just put up your Docker Compose file and use it like that. Like, why anyone would develop all those solutions we have today for a local setup? And there are, I would say, two reasons. The first one is, which one I already mentioned with the Vagrant, is a file share and the speed problem that you will have if you work on MacBooks or Windows machines. On Linux it works just fine. It's perfect. I'm always advising for developers or juniors, just go proceed with your local development on a Linux. It just takes so many problems away, and it will be fast, reliable, and yeah. But I personally enjoy MacBooks, and somebody maybe enjoys working on Windows. And yeah, so what can we do to fix this problem? Because Magento is really large. It's all about the amount of files it has, more than 100,000. And the solutions, generally there are multiple solutions, but one of the solutions is this volume mount approach. Is when you don't synchronize entirely whole Magento app into your container, you select what you share. Because the whole problem starts when the file, which is getting hit by Nginx in this PHP file, when it's not located physically in a container. If it's located on your host machine and it's shared to the container, it's very, very slow. And yeah, the second reason is just the lack of Docker knowledge. You know, you need to learn how to build yourself those Docker Compose files. You need to learn Docker commands, and it's you know, especially when you're a junior or just starting, you already have enough to learn. And all in all, you want to start learning Magento, developing Magento, not spending all this time, weeks of learning Docker. So yeah, so those solutions kind of started to appear. Docker Magento, Docker Magento. Yeah. The idea behind those things is just to have bash scripts, some human readable bash scripts with documentation, so you can just read it and easily set up the environment for the project. It also has interactive setup. You just, you know, there is command Docker Magento start, and then it walks you through the whole installation process, like which PHP version do you would like to install, which Magento version would you like to install if it's a new project, yeah, different kind of things which you would need to do yourself manually. So it's just helping to, as Mark just said, abstract Docker away. So that you don't need to learn this Docker. However, my advice is always like that you better learn this Docker, because if something goes wrong, you will need to figure out those problems. And then you need this knowledge. It's like you need to learn how to calculate before using calculator, right? Yeah, so those two solutions I mentioned, Magento Docker, we did fork of it. We did a fork of Docker Gento by Developers Alliance, and we improved a couple of things. There are just a couple of things I noticed which I wasn't that happy with. So one of the things we changed, instead of this volume share approach, we adapted Mutagen. And Mutagen is like another piece of client which is bidirectionally synchronizing the files between two systems. And so what it does, your files, they are physically stored on your computer, on your laptop, and inside the container, which makes the file read speed like native. There is no file share at all. It's just copy paste this. It's watching for the changes and copy paste the files between the container and your laptop. It's stable. It works. I'm working like that for a couple of years already, and very happy with this Mutagen. Then one more thing we added was for Xdebug. So it's again about the speed. So when you have Xdebug, when you're debugging, when it's enabled, it brings down the speed a lot. And and when you don't need it, you need to disable it and then again enable it. I found it not that useful. I was Googling, searching how to overcome this problem, and I found one interesting article. It was really simple. I wrote this comment with a thank you. It was just about spinning up 2 PHP containers instead of one. And it's so simple. You just have one PHP container which is clean without Xdebug, and the other one is with Xdebug enabled. And there are so many benefits about it. You don't need this is how it looks like. You have just one PHP container with Xdebug, and the other one is just clean PHP. And it's so easy to use it, and you can just enable debug in your, let's say, Chrome, and it does the mapping and decides which PHP container to use. So if you have it enabled, it will process your request through the Xdebug container. If it's disabled, it will just go to the container without PHP, and it's you don't need to go to the console, disable Xdebug. You can just control it that way, handy way. And you can also use it through the CLI. You can just decide yourself which PHP container you would like your code to be executed in. And there are many benefits, and the most one I like is like when you're debugging, you have Xdebug enabled. You clear the cache, and if it's enabled, it will be like really slow to clear the cache, to regenerate the cache. I'm not even speaking about the setup upgrade, and then refreshing the page. You can just go and make a coffee, really. But here, if you are debugging, for example, you change something in a code, you change something, you clear the cache, then you disable Xdebug with this Chrome switcher. Basically, you refresh it, it will work really fast. The cache regeneration will happen really fast because no Xdebug will be used in that container, and then you just switch back to the Xdebug container and debug. So it's I found it very, very beneficial. And a couple other features we added are related to our remote development. Basically, JetBrains Gateway, it offers remote development, and it's a great tool. You don't need to have the project installed locally at all. You have it in your remote server, You just provide JetBrains the SSH access to the server, to the folder, and that's it. It connects to this folder, and you have PHP store with all its features, almost all its features available. You can just can start coding right away, and it removes completely all the load from your laptop. You don't need to use your resources at all just to run this gateway on your host machine generally. Yeah, and it's also not using any space on your laptop, so you can just kind of work on, I don't know, MacBook Air on some less powerful machine. But I found it not that handy. It's not native experience you can get from the PHP store, and I found it a bit not that handy. Yeah. It had a couple limitations. I couldn't copy paste files. I couldn't just copy paste file from my local machine into this JetBrains gateway and get it basically copy pasted inside. I had to use FileZilla to transfer the files, and I didn't like it. It also has some latency if you're working like from the same country. It will be. I still felt it. I'm coding and doing something, and there's this little latency that was I don't know, yeah, driving me crazy. I couldn't work like that. And yeah. And also it would just hang randomly, and I had to restart it multiple times during the development. Yeah, so frustration, anger, as mentioned by Jakub. So yeah, this is what drives this presentation by me today. I figured out we had Mutagen, and we could just use it for remote development as well. Mutagen can synchronize files not only from your local machine into your local PHP container. It can also synchronize by SSH the files, same way. So yeah, what we did, we just adapted it a couple of configurations and told Mutagen to synchronize the files from the remote server into my laptop. You just need to enable SSH access for your laptop, and that's it. Yeah, it's just the same old SSH connection we all know. It's pretty simple. Yes, this little illustration, you have remote server. It can be also VSL on a Windows, or I don't know, virtual machine on a Windows. Doesn't really matter. It will. Yeah, you just have Docker Gento installed, Mutagen installed. It's all on a one remote machine, and you just hit Docker Gento start, and it will then synchronize all the files to your Linux, Mac, Windows, whatever your preference is, and you will get a native experience of PHP store. That's what the most important for me. All the shortcuts, everything, it will work natively, and Xdebug also will work by sharing the ports. Yeah, so what you need to basically to start using this remote development with Docker Gento, you just need to install this Docker Gento, which is a couple of commands, and Mutagen install, which is also pretty easy. And for my use case, I just have my home server. I have Proxmox installed on it. I have a couple virtual machines running, and yeah, this is how it works. But you can also just install VSL on a Windows, and it will work perfectly fine. Yeah, and the Mutagen will synchronize all the changes. When it's connecting, I configured it to connect using SSH tunnels. and port forwarding for each debug. And yeah, the main benefit I had about this it's that it completely removes the load from your laptop, from your PC. It's just you don't need to have any space allocated on your laptop. You just have your server. It can be used in the company. You can get just some massive server machine. You can have again Proxmox maybe installed on it. You can make multiple virtual machines for each developer. You can just you can save a lot of money on buying expensive laptops. And as I mentioned, I can have 15, 20 projects installed, and it takes some space. So with my laptop, which had 512 gigabytes, it was not enough, and I had sacrificed some projects, which I'm not using that frequently. But with this approach, not a problem anymore. It's quite easy to install a couple terabytes of SSD on a remote server and just be free. My MacBook is not overheating anymore. However, in winter it was nice. You just install PHP Storm locally and that's it. It has PHP Storm has remote PHP interpreter, so you can configure PHP Storm to use PHP on your remote machine, and it will have all the features. That's about it. To sum up, it's the main problem with working Magento is a large file system, and if you will try to use file sharing, you will not be a happy developer. I think I wasn't. And the approach that actually helped me was whether using JetBrains Gateway, but you again have to sacrifice this latency, those random hangers restarts, and not being able to copy and paste the files. So the Mutagen for me was the perfect solution. I didn't have any problems synchronizing with it. I found it stable. I didn't have any problems at all, and reliable. And it just does the bidirectional synchronization of the files pretty much instantly. I didn't have any problem, like if I'm coding something and I refresh the page and it doesn't manage to synchronize the file. No, it's instant.
That's nice. Thank you, Dmitriy. Okay, we have a couple of questions.
Hello.
Hello.
Ben, so I have a question for you. You were mentioning that you actually spawn up two containers for PHP, one with XDebug and the other for regular development. Weren't you faced with conflicting exposed ports while doing that? Maybe 80 or 443?
No. It was basically sharing the PHP socket into the Nginx, and I didn't have this. I had with this setup, it's mainly one thing I would like to improve, which Ivan today suggested, is about the routing between the multiple projects. Like right now, you can have only one project running at a time. So you need to bring down one project, and then you need to spin up the other one because of the port conflicts you would have on 80 port running, for example, locally. But for multiple PHP containers, it's not a problem.
Okay, thanks. I guess that would be a problem with the Nginx container. But you don't need it. Okay, and the other question was related to Mutagen. Were you using Mutagen Compose or merely Mutagen while doing your setup?
So I was using just there is a Mutagen file, YAML file, which describes all the configurations you want to have. Maybe some folders to be excluded. Maybe you don't need vendor folder, you can exclude it. But I have it included because when I'm developing, I'm also changing vendor files. So yeah, it's just normal mutagen which is included into the Docker bash script, so you don't need also to learn mutagen commands. It's already starting synchronization for you and disabling also. Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question here.
Hi.
Oh.
My question is, you started with the idea that setting up local development was very hard in the time with LAMP and other solutions. Then we have Vagrant, optimize a little bit the process, and we have Docker, which was very good. But now that you are running on virtual machines, how do you configure the virtual machines to not end up in the first issue, to having to spin up a virtual machine for each project, install different versions of PHP, MySQL?
Yeah, so how it is, on a remote server, you just have, let's say, 2-3 projects installed, just like you would install them regularly, just git pull, and you have those projects sitting in separate folders. Each project has its own Docker compose file generated out of the bash commands we have. And yeah, so you just start one project, it will spin up a container specifically for this project, and then if you want to work in another project, you need to stop the previous one, and it will again spin up those containers so that you don't have this port conflict.
So you're running Docker Compose on the virtual machine?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it all happens remotely. Nothing is locally. You don't need Docker locally. You don't need nothing locally. Just PHP store. It's all getting reconfigured remotely.
And the second question is, did you try to Warden? Because with Warden we don't have the port issue.
Yeah. So Warden, today I discussed it, and yeah, this is something I will look into and we'll try to adapt, because that's a great feature. Yeah.
Okay, I think we have one more question.
Okay, regarding Warden, do you consider that it's a good choice to have it on the production server with multiple instances?
The Docker Gento itself, no. Spinning up the environment with Docker, I know that server guys are doing that, but I'm not that much into it. I'm mainly about the Docker and local setup. For production setups, for now, personally, as far as I'm aware, mainly LAMP stack is being used. But I don't see any problems with Docker running for productions if you know how to do it. But I don't, honestly.
Okay, one last question.
Just out of curiosity, you said you added a vendor as well to the file sharing using Meet Magento. Did you also include the node modules? I wonder how.
Node? No. So I don't include it because I don't really need it to be included, because well, how it happens, you have all the file system on a remote server, and it's Linux. And Linux, to communicate with the container, doesn't need this fancy file share as Mutagen. So the folder inside the remote machine, it's getting fully shared into a container. And the Mutagen only synchronizes the changes you modify locally, or the changes which get modified on a remote machine. But Node, you run some Node commands, and you don't need to share those into your local environment because you have no use of them.
Sometimes you want to investigate a problem or investigate, we're not talking about node modules right now, but from vendor, you want to go deep into the code, the core code, and see what's going on there. So you had no issues with syncing the vendor?
No. It was like a gigabyte of files in general to be synchronized by Mutagen, but no, yeah, it works fine for me, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
With this approach.
Okay, thank you guys, great questions. I think we're almost done here, so my 2 cents on this, I feel that there are a lot of developers and people here who are keen on working in Magento, and not only developing features for Magento, for merchants, but also for developers to help them better, let's say, develop and deploy and maintain Magento. So this really looks at the problem from both sides, right? So we have the merchant side, which is always demanding, asking for things versus performance cost and so on. And then you have the developer side, right, which is quite important for you guys to be able to develop faster, to be happy about your deliverables, because that's what really matters at the end of the day. So thank you for your warm, kind words for developers, and hopefully these tools will help them, and these hacks, I would say, will help us be more productive. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, Dmitriy.
Thank you. Just before I leave, I was also thinking to organize a workshop. So if you guys would be interested, we could organize some Zoom call with more in-deep explanations. So you can just message me and we can organize something.
Or during the break, you can visit them on the booth, right? They have a booth right at the registration, and you can have a chat about this. And next we have the coffee break, so please feel free to enjoy the sponsors booth and the other invitees, and see you back here in about half an hour. Thank you.